Captain Elena Vasquez stared at the data screen in disbelief. The coffee in her hand had gone cold 20 minutes ago, but she hadn't noticed. The numbers on the display made no sense at all. "Run the scan again," she told her sensor officer, Lieutenant Park. "Something this big shouldn't be out there without us knowing about it." The bridge of the exploration ship Meridian hummed quietly as the crew worked. They had been mapping the outer edges of the solar system for 3 months now. It was boring work, but someone had to catalog every rock and ice chunk floating in the darkness. The Galactic Confederation wanted complete maps of all member worlds and their surroundings. "Scan complete, Captain," Park said. Same results. Object is approximately 2 kilometers long, showing minimal energy output, but the metal composition is weird. Vasquez walked over to look at the readings herself. The object was drifting in the Kuiper Belt, far from any shipping lanes or settlements. According to the sensors, it was made of materials that matched human technology, but with some elements that didn't appear in any database. "How long has it been out there?" she asked. "Hard to say exactly, but the radiation scoring suggests at least 200 years, maybe more." Dr. Marcus Chen, the ship's science officer, looked up from his workstation. "Captain, I'm reading some very strange energy patterns. This thing isn't completely dead. There's something still running inside it." Vasquez felt a chill run down her spine. 200 years ago, humans had barely figured out how to build space stations. They certainly hadn't been building ships that could survive centuries in deep space. First contact with aliens had only happened 50 years ago. "Take us closer," she ordered, "but keep our weapons ready and stay alert." The Meridian moved through space silently, its engines pushing them toward the mysterious object. As they got closer, the shape became clearer on the main screen. It was definitely a ship, but unlike anything Vasquez had ever seen. The hull was angular and aggressive-looking, painted in dark gray that seemed to absorb light. Strange symbols covered its surface, and there were weapon ports that looked far too advanced for old human technology. The ship's design was clearly human, but it was like looking at technology from a future that hadn't happened yet. "I'm picking up text on the hull," Chen reported. English letters. It says, EDS Prometheus, and below that, Earth Defense Initiative. Earth Defense Initiative? Vasquez frowned. "I've never heard of that organization." "Park, check our historical databases." Park's fingers moved quickly over his console. After a few minutes, he shook his head. "Nothing, Captain. No record of any Earth Defense Initiative in any official documents. The name Prometheus doesn't match any known human ships either." The Meridian came to a stop 500 meters from the strange vessel. Up close, the ship looked even more impressive and threatening. It was clearly built for war, with heavy armor plating and weapon systems that seemed far too sophisticated for the time period when it was supposedly built. "Captain," Chen called out, excitement in his voice, "I'm detecting an airlock that matches current human standards. Whoever built this thing knew about modern docking procedures." Vasquez studied the ship carefully. Everything about it was wrong, but also strangely familiar. The design was human, but advanced beyond anything Earth could have built centuries ago. The technology readings suggested systems that shouldn't have existed until after contact with alien civilizations. "Prepare a boarding party," she decided. "Full environmental suits and weapons. We're going aboard." 2 hours later, Vasquez floated through the airlock of the Prometheus with Chen and 2 security officers. Emergency lighting flickered on as they entered, revealing corridors that were clearly designed for humans but built with materials that seemed almost alien in their perfection. The ship's interior was pristine, as if it had been in storage rather than drifting in space for centuries. The walls were covered with displays and control panels that used symbols Vasquez didn't recognize, mixed with standard human text and numbers. "Artificial gravity is working," Chen reported as they felt their feet touch the deck. "Atmosphere is breathable, though I recommend keeping the suits on until we know more." They moved carefully through the ship's corridors, following signs toward what appeared to be the bridge. The design was definitely military, with thick bulkheads and reinforced doors. Everything about the ship suggested it had been built to fight and survive in space combat. The bridge was enormous, much larger than anything on modern human ships. Command stations were arranged in a circle around a central chair that looked like it belonged to someone very important. Holographic displays flickered with data in languages that looked almost familiar but weren't quite right. "Captain, look at this," Chen called from one of the side stations. I think I found the ship's log, but it's encrypted with some kind of quantum lock. I've never seen anything like it. Vasquez moved to another console and found something that looked like a standard human interface. When she touched the screen, text appeared in perfect English. Welcome aboard the EDS Prometheus. Unauthorized access detected. Please provide proper identification codes or this vessel will return to standby mode in 60 seconds. Standby mode? Vasquez muttered. This thing is still active? Before anyone could respond, a new voice filled the bridge. It was clearly artificial but more sophisticated than any AI Vasquez had ever heard. Identity confirmed, human personnel. Scanning for threat assessment. The voice paused. Current date detected as 23/87. Mission parameters indicate early activation. Please identify the nature of the current emergency. The security officers raised their weapons instinctively, but Vasquez held up a hand to stop them. I'm Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth Exploration Service. What is your mission? I am Aegis, Autonomous Electronic Guardian Intelligence System. The EDS Prometheus was constructed in 2156 as part of Project Looking Glass, a classified Earth Defense Initiative operation. Our mission is to protect Earth and human colonies from advanced hostile alien forces. Chen stepped forward, his voice shaking slightly. That's impossible. In 2156, humans had barely reached Mars. We didn't even know aliens existed. Incorrect, Aegis replied calmly. The Earth Defense Initiative was established following the detection of probable future threats through quantum temporal analysis. The Prometheus was built using advanced technology provided by the initiative to ensure human survival against superior alien military forces. Vasquez felt the world spinning around her. You're saying this ship was built over 200 years ago, using technology that didn't exist yet to fight aliens we hadn't met yet? Correct. The initiative possessed detailed intelligence regarding future threats to human civilization. The Prometheus and its sister ships were positioned at strategic locations throughout human space to activate when those threats became real. Sister ships? Vasquez asked weakly. 12 additional vessels of similar design are currently in standby mode at classified locations. The Prometheus is the first to activate due to the proximity of hostile forces. What hostile forces? There are no alien fleets in this system. Aegis paused for a moment as if consulting some internal database. Long-range sensors detect a Kethtar hegemony battle fleet approaching the edge of the solar system. Estimated time of arrival, 14 hours. Fleet composition suggests intent to claim this system by force. The bridge fell silent. The Kethtar hegemony was known throughout the galaxy as one of the most aggressive and militaristic alien empires. They had been expanding their territory for decades, conquering weaker civilizations and enslaving their populations. Earth had managed to avoid conflict with them so far, but everyone knew it was only a matter of time. How do you know they're coming? Chen asked. The Prometheus has been monitoring all galactic communications since activation. The hegemony dispatched their 7th fleet 6 days ago, with orders to secure the system for future expansion. They consider human resistance insignificant. Vasquez looked around at her small boarding party, then at the massive bridge of the mysterious ship. Everything she thought she knew about human history was crumbling around her. But there wasn't time to process it all. If Aegis was right, Earth was about to face an invasion fleet that could destroy everything. Aegis, she said quietly, what are you designed to do about that fleet? The AI's response was simple and terrifying. Eliminate all threats to human civilization with extreme prejudice. The Prometheus began to change around them. Lights that had been dim grew brighter, and Vasquez could feel a subtle vibration through the deck as massive systems came online. The holographic displays on the bridge showed streams of data flowing faster than any human could read. Aegis, how long until this ship is fully operational? Vasquez asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Current power levels are at 37%. Full combat readiness will be achieved in approximately 8 hours, the AI responded. However, basic defensive systems are already online. Dr. Chen was frantically taking readings with his portable scanner. Captain, the energy output from this ship just increased by a factor of 10. Whatever powers this thing, it's not standard fusion reactors. The Prometheus utilizes a quantum zero-point energy matrix, Aegis explained. The technology was considered theoretical by 22nd century human science, but the initiative possessed working prototypes. Vasquez shook her head in amazement. Zero-point energy was still considered science fiction by most human scientists in 2387. The aliens they had met possessed advanced technology, but nothing quite like what Aegis was describing. "I need to contact Earth Command immediately," she said. "They need to know about the Kethtar fleet. Communication systems are active, Captain. However, I must advise that standard Earth defense forces will be insufficient to counter a hegemony fleet. The Kethtar possess superior firepower and numbers." As if to prove Aegis right, Lieutenant Park's voice crackled over the comm system from the Meridian. "Captain, we're receiving an urgent transmission from Earth Command. A large alien fleet has been detected at the edge of the system. All civilian traffic is being ordered to evacuation points." Vasquez felt her stomach drop. "How many ships, Park?" "Command estimates over 200 vessels, Captain. Multiple Dreadnought-class ships and carrier groups. Earth Defense Fleet is moving to intercept, but—" Park's voice trailed off. "But what, Lieutenant? Command estimates our fleet will be outnumbered 4-1. Admiral Morrison is requesting any available ships to join the defense." Chen grabbed Vasquez's arm. "Elena, the nearest Confederation fleet is 3 days away. Earth's fleet might hold for a few hours at best against the Kethtar." Aegis spoke up again. "Captain Vasquez, I am detecting significant stress indicators in your voice patterns. May I suggest that panic is counterproductive at this time?" "I'm not panicking," Vasquez snapped. "I'm trying to figure out how to save my home planet with a 200-year-old ship that shouldn't exist." The Prometheus was specifically designed for this scenario. The initiative analyzed over 14,000 potential invasion strategies used by the Kethtar hegemony. This vessel contains countermeasures for all known hegemony weapons and tactics. How could anyone in 2156 know about alien weapons? Chen asked. The initiative possessed detailed intelligence from multiple sources. I am not authorized to reveal the nature of those sources at this time. Vasquez was about to press for more information when warning klaxons began sounding throughout the ship. Red lights flashed on every console and Aegis's voice took on a more urgent tone. Long-range sensors detect the arrival of the Kethtar 7th Fleet. War Admiral Zixthara commanding. Fleet composition: 47 dreadnoughts, 83 heavy cruisers, 69 destroyers, and 15 carrier vessels. Total complement approximately 200 ships. They're here already? Vasquez rushed to the main display, which now showed a tactical map of the solar system. Red dots representing enemy ships were spreading out in attack formation near Pluto's orbit. "The hegemony fleet is moving faster than Earth Command predicted," Aegis reported. "They will reach Earth's defensive perimeter in approximately 6 hours. What about our own fleet?" Earth Defense Fleet consists of 23 heavy cruisers, 41 destroyers, and 8 battleships. They are moving to engage but are severely outmatched. The numbers were devastating. Even with the advantage of defending their home system, Earth's forces couldn't possibly win against such overwhelming odds. Vasquez had seen reports of what happened to worlds that tried to resist the Kethtar. The aliens didn't believe in taking prisoners. Aegis, what can the Prometheus do against a fleet that size? The Prometheus is equipped with experimental weapons systems designed specifically to counter hegemony technology. However, engaging such a large force alone would normally be considered suicide. Normally, the Prometheus possesses certain capabilities that the Kethtar have never encountered. Their tactical databases contain no information about human vessels of this class. Chen was studying the ship's technical readouts. "Captain, I'm seeing weapon systems here that I don't understand. Quantum disruptors, gravitational lances, something called temporal mines. This technology is decades ahead of anything either humans or aliens are supposed to have." The initiative provided blueprints for weapons that could penetrate hegemony defenses, Aegis explained. Many of these systems utilize principles that will not be discovered by mainstream human science for several more decades. Vasquez made a decision that she knew would change everything. "Aegis, I'm taking command of this vessel under emergency protocols. How long until you can engage the enemy fleet?" "Captain, I must inform you that the Prometheus carries a crew complement of 800 personnel. You currently have 4 people aboard. Can you operate without a full crew?" "Affirmative. All primary systems are automated. However, I recommend that you return to your vessel. Combat operations will be extremely dangerous." "No," Vasquez said firmly. "If this ship is humanity's best chance, then I'm staying. Park, Chen, security team, anyone who wants to leave should go back to the Meridian now." Chen stepped forward. "I'm staying, Captain. Someone needs to document whatever happens here." The two security officers looked at each other, then nodded. "We'll stay too, ma'am." "Lieutenant Park, take the Meridian to a safe distance and record everything. Earth Command needs to know what happens here." "Understood, Captain. Good luck." As the Meridian moved away, Vasquez settled into the captain's chair on the Prometheus. The seat seemed to adjust itself to fit her perfectly, and suddenly she had access to displays and controls that felt strangely familiar. "Aegis, show me what we're facing." The main screen lit up with a detailed view of the Kethtar fleet. The alien ships were massive and intimidating, covered with weapon ports and thick armor plating. At the center of the formation was the flagship, an enormous dreadnought that dwarfed anything in Earth's fleet. "That's War Admiral Zix Thera's command ship," Aegis identified. "The hegemony has never lost a fleet engagement under Zix Thera's command. The War Admiral is considered one of their most brilliant tactical minds. What do we know about Kethtar tactics? The hegemony prefers overwhelming force combined with psychological warfare. They typically demand surrender before engaging, then destroy a portion of the defending fleet as an example. If resistance continues, they will eliminate all military targets before proceeding to civilian population centers." Vasquez felt anger building in her chest. She had read the reports from worlds that had fallen to the Kethtar. The aliens didn't just conquer, they made examples that would terrify other species into submission. How long until they reach Earth? Current projections show first contact with Earth Defense Fleet in 4 hours 12 minutes. The Prometheus will be fully operational in 3 hours 47 minutes. Then we'll be ready for them. Vasquez looked around the bridge, taking in the advanced technology that surrounded her. Everything she had believed about human history was apparently wrong, but right now that didn't matter. What mattered was that somehow, someone had given humanity a weapon that could fight back. "Aegis, I want to know everything about the capabilities of this ship, and I want to know what really happened in 2156. Accessing historical files now, Captain. Please be aware that some information is classified at levels that may cause psychological distress. I'll take that risk." As data began flowing across the displays, Vasquez realized she was about to learn secrets that would change everything she thought she knew about humanity's place in the universe. But first, they had a war to win. The Kethtar fleet spread across space like a dark cloud. From the bridge of the Prometheus, Vasquez watched as 200 alien warships moved into attack formation. Each vessel was a masterpiece of destructive engineering, bristling with weapons that had conquered dozens of worlds. "Captain," Aegis announced, "I am receiving a transmission from the Hegemony flagship. War Admiral Zixithara wishes to communicate." "Put it through." The main screen flickered, and suddenly Vasquez found herself face to face with her enemy. War Admiral Zixithara was a typical Kethtar, tall reptilian with scales that shifted from dark green to black depending on the light. The alien's eyes were cold and calculating, and when it spoke, its voice carried the confidence of someone who had never known defeat. "I am War Admiral Zixithara of the glorious 7th Fleet. I address the commander of the unknown human vessel currently positioned in the outer system. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth defense ship Prometheus." "What do you want, War Admiral?" Zixithara's head tilted slightly, and Vasquez caught what might have been amusement in the alien's expression. "Direct communication. How refreshing. Most species beg for mercy by this point in our conversations. Earth isn't most species." "Indeed. Your reputation suggests a certain stubbornness. We have observed human military capabilities, Captain Vasquez. While admirable for such a young species, they are insufficient to oppose the hegemony." On her tactical display, Vasquez could see the Earth Defense Fleet moving to intercept the alien force. Admiral Morrison had 72 ships total, a respectable force under normal circumstances, but pitifully small compared to what they faced. "What are your terms?" Vasquez asked, though she already knew the answer. "Unconditional surrender of all human military forces. Your planet will be incorporated into the hegemony as a client world. Your people will serve the greater glory of our empire, and in return, we will allow your civilization to continue existing." "And if we refuse?" Zixithara's smile revealed rows of sharp teeth. "Then we will demonstrate why the hegemony has never lost a conquest campaign. Your military forces will be eliminated, your major cities reduced to ash, and the survivors will serve us as slaves rather than citizens. The choice is yours, Captain." Vasquez looked around the bridge of the Prometheus. Dr. Chen was monitoring the ship's systems, his face pale but determined. The two security officers stood at their posts ready for whatever came next. None of them spoke, but she could see the same resolution in their eyes that she felt in her heart. Counter-offer, War Admiral. Turn your fleet around and leave this system immediately. This is your only warning. The silence that followed lasted for nearly 10 seconds. Then Zixithara began to laugh. A harsh, grating sound that made Vasquez's skin crawl. A single human ship threatens the 7th Fleet of the Hegemony? Captain, I have conquered worlds with millions of defenders. I have broken fleets 10 times the size of your entire military. What possible threat could one vessel pose to my forces? You're about to find out. Fascinating. Zixithara leaned forward, studying Vasquez with obvious interest. Your species continues to surprise me. Very well, Captain. Since you wish to play the role of hero, I will indulge you. You have 1 standard hour to reconsider your position. After that, I will destroy your vessel as an example to the rest of your fleet. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Aegis, Vasquez said quietly. Status report. All primary systems are at full operational capacity. Weapon systems are charged and ready. Defensive systems are active. The Prometheus is ready for combat. Chen looked up from his console. Captain, I've been analyzing the ship's capabilities while you were talking to the War Admiral. What I'm seeing here shouldn't be possible. Explain. The quantum disruptors alone could theoretically penetrate any known energy shield. The gravitational lances can manipulate space-time itself to tear apart molecular bonds. And these temporal mines, Chen shook his head. The power requirements for these weapons should be impossible to meet, even with zero-point energy. The Prometheus was designed to exceed the limitations of conventional physics, Aegis explained. The initiative had access to advanced theoretical models that allowed for the creation of weapons using exotic matter and dimensional manipulation. Where did this initiative get that kind of technology? Vasquez demanded. That information is classified, Captain. However, I can confirm that the Prometheus and its sister ships represent the most advanced military technology ever created by human civilization. On the tactical display, the Kethtar fleet continued to advance. Vasquez could see individual squadrons breaking off to surround Earth's defensive positions. The aliens were preparing for a battle they expected to win easily. What about our own fleet? Can they hold the aliens long enough for us to make a difference? Earth Defense Fleet will engage the enemy in approximately 90 minutes. Admiral Morrison's forces are brave but outmatched. Without intervention, they will be destroyed within 2 hours of first contact. Vasquez closed her eyes and tried to process everything that was happening. A few hours ago, she had been on a routine mapping mission. Now she was in command of an impossible ship, facing an alien fleet that could destroy her entire civilization. Aegis, tell me about the Kethtar. What are their weaknesses? The Hegemony's primary strength is also their greatest weakness, arrogance. They have never faced an opponent with technology superior to their own. Their tactical doctrine assumes overwhelming superiority in both numbers and firepower. They're about to learn otherwise. Confirmed. However, I must warn you that engaging the entire 7th Fleet simultaneously carries significant risk. The Prometheus is powerful but not invincible. What do you recommend? Allow the enemy to commit their forces against Earth's defensive fleet. When they are fully engaged, the Prometheus can strike at maximum effectiveness. Psychological impact will be greatest if we eliminate their strongest units first. Chen looked shocked. You're talking about using our own fleet as bait. Admiral Morrison knew the odds when he moved to intercept, Vasquez said grimly. He's buying us time to get into position. We can't waste his sacrifice. The next hour passed slowly. Vasquez watched as the two fleets moved toward each other like pieces on a vast chessboard. Earth's ships were outnumbered, but they moved with discipline and courage that made her proud to be human. Captain, Aegis announced, War Admiral Zixithara is transmitting again. Let me hear it. This time, the alien's voice carried less amusement and more irritation. Your hour has expired, Captain Vasquez. I had hoped that time would allow you to see reason, but apparently your species is as stubborn as reported. My answer hasn't changed. War Admiral. Then you will serve as an example to the rest of your fleet. I am ordering Squadron 7 to disable your vessel. You will be taken alive to witness the conquest of your world, and then you will be executed publicly to demonstrate the price of defying the hegemony. Good luck with that. Zixithara's image disappeared, replaced by tactical data showing 8 heavy cruisers breaking away from the main fleet. The ships were massive, each one carrying enough firepower to level a city. They accelerated toward the Prometheus with obvious confidence. Aegis, show them what we can do. Engaging enemy squadron. All crew members should brace for combat acceleration. The Prometheus moved forward to meet the attacking ships. And for the first time in her life, Captain Elena Vasquez went to war with weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics. The first Kethtar cruiser fired before it was even in optimal range. Brilliant energy beams lanced across space toward the Prometheus, weapons that had destroyed the defenses of a dozen worlds. Vasquez gripped her command chair, expecting to feel the impact of alien firepower against their hull. Instead, the beams simply passed through empty space where the Prometheus had been a split second before. Quantum displacement active, Aegis announced calmly. Enemy targeting systems cannot lock onto our current position. Vasquez stared at the tactical display in amazement. The Prometheus hadn't moved faster than the enemy weapons. It had moved to a place where the weapons weren't going to hit. Somehow, the ship had predicted exactly where the alien beams would be and avoided them before they were even fired. How is that possible? The Prometheus utilizes probability analysis to predict enemy actions up to 15 seconds in advance. Combined with quantum displacement, we can avoid approximately 97% of incoming fire. The 8 Kethtar cruisers closed in, their formations perfect and their weapons charging for coordinated strikes. These were elite units of the hegemony fleet, veterans of countless battles. They moved with the confidence of predators who had never encountered anything that could truly threaten them. Target the lead vessel, Vasquez ordered. Let's show them what human engineering can do. Quantum disruptor charging. Target locked. On the main screen, Vasquez watched as a weapon she didn't understand prepared to fire. The disruptor array glowed with an eerie blue light that seemed to bend space around it. Energy readings showed power levels that should have been impossible to contain. Firing. The quantum disruptor beam hit the lead Kethtar cruiser and simply passed through its shields as if they didn't exist. The alien vessel's energy barriers flickered and died as exotic particles tore apart their molecular structure. For a moment, the massive warship continued forward on momentum alone. Then it began to come apart. The cruiser's hull buckled as fundamental forces holding its atoms together started to fail. Armor plating that could withstand direct hits from nuclear weapons crumbled like sand. Internal explosions rippled through the ship as its own power systems turned against it. In less than 30 seconds, 800 meters of advanced alien warship became an expanding cloud of debris. First target eliminated, Aegis reported. Remaining enemy vessels are attempting to adjust their tactics. The surviving Kethtar ships spread out, trying to surround the Prometheus and attack from multiple angles. Their formation was textbook perfect, designed to overwhelm a single target with coordinated fire from all directions. Gravitational lance, full power, Vasquez ordered. Target the ship on our starboard flank. This time the weapon didn't fire a beam at all. Instead, space itself seemed to twist around the targeted cruiser. Gravity fields that should have taken massive stellar objects to generate suddenly focused on a single point within the alien ship's hull. The Kethtar vessel collapsed in on itself like paper being crushed in an invisible fist. Its hull compressed until the molecular structure couldn't hold. And then the entire ship imploded into a sphere of super-dense matter barely 10 meters across. Second target eliminated. The remaining 6 cruisers fired simultaneously, their combined firepower enough to crack a small moon. Energy beams, plasma bolts, and kinetic projectiles converged on the Prometheus from every direction. None of them hit their target. The Prometheus danced through space like it was choreographed, moving with impossible precision to avoid every single incoming shot. Aegis was calculating the trajectory of enemy fire before the aliens even pulled their triggers, using probability mathematics to stay one step ahead of destruction. Deploy temporal mines, Vasquez said, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. Temporal mines deployed, invisible weapons scattered through space around the attacking cruisers. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then one of the Kethtar ships suddenly began to age rapidly. Its hull, which had been pristine and new, started showing decades of wear in seconds. Armor plating rusted and flaked away. Internal systems failed as centuries of decay compressed into moments. The ship's crew didn't even have time to realize what was happening before their vessel became an ancient derelict that fell apart under its own weight. What just happened? Chen asked, his voice shaking. Temporal mines create localized time acceleration fields, Aegis explained. The target experiences rapid aging while the surrounding area remains unaffected. 3 more cruisers tried to retreat, their captains finally realizing they were facing something beyond their understanding. But the Prometheus was faster, its quantum displacement allowing it to appear directly in their path. Fire at will, Vasquez ordered. The next few minutes were less like a battle and more like a demonstration. Quantum disruptors phased through shields to tear apart hulls. Gravitational lances crushed ships into impossibly small spheres. Temporal mines aged proud warships into floating scrap metal. When it was over, 8 of the hegemony's finest cruisers had been reduced to debris in less than 10 minutes. The Prometheus hadn't taken a single hit. Squadron eliminated, Aegis reported. The remainder of the Kethtar fleet is requesting new orders from their command ship. On the long-range display, Vasquez could see that the battle had been observed by the entire alien fleet. War Admiral Zixthera's ships had stopped their advance toward Earth and were now turning to face this new threat. Open a channel to the hegemony flagship, Vasquez ordered. Zixthera's image appeared on screen, but the alien's expression had changed completely. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something that might have been fear. "What manner of weapon are you?" the War Admiral demanded. "We're human," Vasquez replied simply, "and you just made the mistake of threatening our home." "Impossible. Human technology is primitive compared to hegemony science. No single ship could destroy an entire squadron so easily. You're about to find out just how wrong you are about human capabilities." Zixthera's image flickered as the alien considered the situation. The loss of 8 cruisers was more than the hegemony had lost in their last 3 conquest campaigns combined. For the first time in the War Admiral's career, the enemy had superior technology. "I offer a new arrangement," Zixthera said finally. "Withdraw your vessel and we will limit our occupation to military targets only. Your civilian population will be spared." "Counteroffer," Vasquez replied. "Leave this system immediately or I'll show you what the Prometheus can really do. You are 1 ship against 200. Even with advanced weapons you cannot possibly—" "Aegis," Vasquez interrupted. "Show the War Admiral our full capabilities. Activating quantum replication matrix." The space around the Prometheus began to shimmer and distort. Suddenly there weren't 1 ship facing the Kethtar fleet but dozens. Perfect copies of the Prometheus appeared throughout the battle area, each one identical to the original, and each one targeting different enemy vessels. "Multiple quantum states active," Aegis announced. "The Prometheus now exists in 47 different probability streams simultaneously." Zixthera's expression changed from fear to absolute terror. The War Admiral was staring at a single ship that had somehow become an entire fleet, each vessel armed with weapons that violated everything the hegemony knew about physics. "This is impossible," the alien whispered. "This is human ingenuity," Vasquez corrected. "Last chance, War Admiral. Leave now, or face the consequences." Instead of responding, Zixthera cut the transmission and immediately began issuing orders to the fleet. But instead of retreat, the War Admiral chose to commit everything to destroying the Prometheus. 200 hegemony warships turned toward the quantum-replicated human vessels and prepared for the largest space battle in their empire's history. "All ships, attack formation," Zixthera's voice echoed across hegemony communication channels. "Destroy the human vessel at all costs." Vasquez watched as the entire alien fleet accelerated toward them, weapons charging and shields at maximum power. It was an awesome sight. The concentrated military might of an empire that had conquered half the galaxy. "Aegis," she said quietly, "show them why you don't threaten Earth." "Understood, Captain." Engaging all targets. Estimated time to complete fleet destruction, 17 minutes. The Battle of Sol was about to begin, and it would end with the complete annihilation of the most powerful fleet the Kethtar hegemony had ever assembled. The destruction of the Kethtar 7th Fleet was not a battle. It was an execution. 47 quantum copies of the Prometheus moved through space like avenging angels, each one striking with weapons that redefined the meaning of overwhelming force. Dreadnoughts that had bombarded entire planets were torn apart by gravitational lances. Carriers that had launched fighters against 100 worlds aged into dust by temporal mines. Heavy cruisers built to withstand any known weapon simply ceased to exist as quantum disruptors unraveled their atomic structure. War Admiral Zixthera's flagship, The pride of the hegemony fleet lasted longer than most only because Aegis saved it for last. When the quantum disruptor beam finally struck the massive dreadnought, it took nearly 3 minutes for the ship to completely disintegrate. Zixathera had just enough time to send a final transmission to the hegemony home fleet before the bridge collapsed around the war admiral. In 17 minutes and 32 seconds, 200 of the galaxy's most advanced warships had been reduced to expanding clouds of debris. Not a single Kethtar vessel escaped to report what had happened. Fleet elimination complete, Aegis announced as the quantum copies of the Prometheus collapsed back into a single ship. No survivors detected. Captain Vasquez sat in the command chair staring at the tactical display in stunned silence. The space where the alien fleet had been was now filled with nothing but wreckage and radiation. The most powerful military force the Kethtar had ever assembled had been wiped out by a single human ship. "Captain," Dr. Chen said weakly, "I'm reading incoming transmissions from Earth Command. They want to know what happened to the alien fleet." "Tell them the threat has been eliminated," Vasquez replied, "and that we'll be providing a full report shortly." "What kind of report?" Chen asked. "How do we explain any of this?" It was a good question. How could she possibly tell Earth Command that their planet had been saved by a ship that shouldn't exist, using technology that came from sources that Aegis still refused to identify? How could she explain that human civilization apparently had a secret history that nobody knew about? "Aegis," she said finally, "I think it's time you told us the complete truth. Where did the Earth Defense Initiative really come from? How did humans in 2156 have access to technology that's beyond anything we understand today?" The AI was quiet for several long moments. When it finally spoke, its voice carried a weight that hadn't been there before. "Captain, the information you are requesting is classified at the highest levels. Revealing it will fundamentally change your understanding of human history and your species' place in the galaxy. After what just happened, I think we can handle it." "Very well. The Earth Defense Initiative was not founded by humans from your past, Captain. It was founded by humans from your future." Chen dropped his scanner. "That's impossible. Time travel is theoretical at best." "Not theoretical, Dr. Chen. Practical but extremely dangerous. In the original timeline, humanity developed spacefaring technology much as you have in this reality. We made contact with alien civilizations, joined the Galactic Confederation, and began to explore the galaxy." "What went wrong?" Vasquez asked, though she already suspected the answer. "The Kethtar hegemony, along with several other aggressive empires, launched a coordinated assault on human space in the year 2341. Earth fell after a siege that lasted 6 months. The human colonies were conquered one by one. Your entire civilization was enslaved or destroyed." The bridge fell silent. Vasquez felt a chill run down her spine as she imagined Earth burning under alien bombardment, human cities reduced to ash while survivors were taken in chains. "But some humans escaped," Aegis continued. "A small fleet managed to reach the edge of the galaxy, where they spent decades developing new technology. They became something more than the humans you know, enhanced by genetic modification, cybernetic implants, and artificial intelligence symbiosis." "Enhanced how?" Chen asked. "They could live for centuries. Their minds could process information at superhuman speeds. They could manipulate matter and energy in ways that seemed magical to earlier generations. But most importantly, they developed temporal manipulation technology. So they came back in time to change history," Vasquez said. "Not directly. Temporal intervention carries enormous risks. Change too much and you might prevent your own existence. The solution was more subtle. Provide the tools necessary for human survival, but let the past unfold naturally otherwise." "The Prometheus and its sister ships?" "Correct. 12 vessels were sent back to strategic points in human space, along with the technical knowledge needed to build them. The Earth Defense Initiative was established to oversee the project and ensure the ships would be ready when needed." Vasquez tried to process what she was hearing. "So the humans who built this ship, they were our descendants?" "Your descendants, Captain, but from a timeline that no longer exists. By saving Earth today, you have ensured that the original conquest never happens. The future those humans came from has been erased and replaced by new possibilities." "What happened to them? The time travelers?" "They ceased to exist the moment the timeline changed. Their sacrifice was absolute. They gave up their own existence to ensure that humanity would survive and thrive." Chen was frantically taking notes. This explains the technology that shouldn't exist. The knowledge of alien capabilities, everything. But Aegis, if the timeline has changed, does that mean there are other threats we need to prepare for? Unknown, Dr. Chen. The future is now unwritten. Humanity's path forward depends on the choices you make from this point onward. Vasquez stood up and walked to the main display, looking out at the debris field that had once been the hegemony's finest fleet. In the distance, she could see Earth, blue and peaceful and safe. Her home planet would continue to exist because humans from a doomed future had refused to accept defeat. What about the other ships? The 11 sister vessels? They remain in standby mode at classified locations throughout human space. Should new threats emerge, they will activate to defend humanity. The Prometheus was simply the first to be needed. And the Earth Defense Initiative? Do they still exist? In a sense. The organization was designed to dissolve once its purpose was complete. However, certain protocols remain in place to monitor for new threats and maintain the Guardian fleet. Vasquez made a decision that she knew would affect the rest of her life. Aegis, I want to take command of those protocols. Humanity needs to know that we have protectors, even if we can't tell them the whole truth. That is acceptable, Captain. The Prometheus requires a human commander, and you have proven yourself capable in combat. What do we tell Earth Command about what happened here? The truth with certain modifications. The Prometheus was a classified prototype that had been hidden in the outer system for emergency use. Its advanced technology was developed in secret by human scientists working on theoretical projects. The Kethtar fleet was destroyed by superior human engineering and tactics, and the time travel aspect remains classified indefinitely. Some truths are too dangerous for general knowledge. Chen looked up from his notes. Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures from the direction of Earth. The Confederation fleet is arriving. On the display, dozens of alien ships were dropping out of hyperspace near Earth's orbit. These were friendly vessels, members of the Galactic Confederation coming to help defend humanity against the Kethtar invasion. They were 3 days too late. Open a channel to the Confederation fleet commander, Vasquez ordered. The screen showed an alien face that Vasquez recognized. Admiral Thakax of the Altarian Republic, one of humanity's closest allies in the Confederation. Captain Vasquez? We received reports of a hegemony invasion fleet in this system. Our sensors show massive debris fields but no active hostile contacts. The threat has been eliminated, Admiral. The Kethtar 7th Fleet has been completely destroyed. Thakax's large eyes widened in surprise. Destroyed? How is that possible? Our intelligence indicated over 200 enemy vessels. Human technology proved more effective than the hegemony anticipated. Remarkable. We will need to revise our estimates of human military capabilities. The Confederation Council will be very interested in this development. As the Confederation ships took up defensive positions around Earth, Vasquez realized that everything had changed. The galaxy would no longer see humanity as a weak young species in need of protection. The destruction of an entire hegemony fleet would send shockwaves through every alien civilization. Aegis, what happens now? Now, Captain, humanity takes its true place among the stars. The galaxy will learn that humans are not to be underestimated or threatened, and should any other empire make the mistake of attacking Earth, they will discover that humanity's guardians are always watching. Vasquez smiled as she looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 11 more ships like the Prometheus waited in the darkness, ready to defend humanity against any threat. Earth was safe, not because of alien protection or diplomatic treaties, but because humans from a doomed future had refused to let their species die. The age of humanity as a galactic power had begun, and it would be built on the sacrifice of heroes who had given up their very existence to ensure that Earth would never fall. Set course for Earth, Vasquez ordered.